Good morning. Welcome to my video number 11 in my set of 31 videos that I'm doing in hopes of helping someone get comfortable with the idea of using a glucose meter as their fuel gauge, regardless of whatever diet they want to do. The creator of the idea, or the author of the blog post that I found, How to Use a Glucose Meter as Your Fuel Gauge. His name is Marty Kendall of OptimizingNutrition.com. He is a diet agnostic. He doesn't care what diet you use. I'll put up a list of the diets that he mentions that he has food lists for, so you can see that. There's everything covered on there. Maybe he didn't mention Weight Watchers, but he's a diet agnostic. He doesn't care what diet we use. He cares that our diet has enough nutrients and protein. So I have been using this method now for over 4 years. I combine it with the TrimHealthyMama diet that I started doing back in 2013. And in 2018, I had spent 2 years searching for information about menopausal weight gain, because even though I was following the TrimHealthyMama diet and I was separating my fuels, and I had tried all of the tricks and tips and special menus, the Stubborn Losers menu, the fuel cycle, something that I'm not inclined to do. I don't like to follow menus. I don't like to follow plans, food plans, because I like lots of variety in what I get to eat. And I like to sort of go day by day. But I did a fuel cycle after 5 years of being a TrimHealthyMama. I finally did a fuel cycle trying to deal with menopausal weight gain. Thankfully, I found Marty Kendall's article, How to Use a Glucose Meter as a Fuel Gauge, and when I started doing that, that's what made the difference for me. I do have to credit someone else, though. I said I'd been searching for 2 years to try to find answers on how to deal with my menopausal weight gain. And in one of the TrimHealthyMama groups, I found an image that I'll put up on the screen that the lady said that she had started using a glucose meter to help her decide when she was going to eat her TrimHealthyMama meals. And I kick myself now that I did not screenshot that lady's name. I just took a screenshot of the image she saved. And searching for that image, I found an article by Chris Kresser. I'll put a link in the description box to Chris Kresser's article, and that image is still in that article, though it looks in a little different form than the screenshot version of his image that I have. Anyway, I took that to heart and did start applying it to my TrimHealthyMama life, and I started waiting for my glucose to get down to 85. Thankfully, I was healthy enough to do that, and it wasn't a huge stretch for me to get down to 85, but I was surprised when I started taking my morning fasting glucose that I was waking up in the morning with fasting glucoses in the 100 teens, and sometimes the 120s. And I think I even have one recorded from back then that was in the 130s. Those are all pre-diabetic or diabetic numbers. Thankfully, they were on the low end of diabetic, and they were on the more in the pre-diabetic range. Anyway, I really needed to know where that image came from, and that's how I found Marty's article, how to use the glucose meter as your fuel gauge. And anyway, 4.5 years later now, I am still practicing that, and Marty is now leading classes on it, teaching people how to find their own personal glucose number, so they don't just arbitrarily say, oh, I need to wait until I get down to 85 for milligrams per deciliter for my fuel gauge number or for my glucose number. Not everybody can do that right out of the gate. It's not healthy for everybody to do that right out of the gate. It depends on where you are now, taking some days of glucose numbers and using those numbers to find your own personal fuel gauge, personal hunger trigger number. And that's what Marty's classes teach people to do. Though you do not have to pay for a $37 class. Marty is a very generous man, and he provides all that information for free in his off Facebook community. I'll put a link for Marty's free resources for the free community and for the 30-day paid classes that cost $37 each. They're called DataDriven Fasting Challenges. All the information will be in the description box for you to use. This set of videos that I'm doing are targeted at people who are just getting started in this process and would like a little personal connection, day-by-day help. And I don't know how useful or helpful I am in this process of sharing my 30-day challenge that I'm in right now, but that's my hope, is that my sharing day by day, the 30-day challenge, what happens in all 30 days. There's a chart up on there that you can see all 30 days, the segments that we go through, baselining and hunger training and deciding about the main meal, all that. I'm doing a day-by-day video to just step through each day and try to give some encouragement if someone is doing that. Today is day 10 of the 30-day challenge, and that means that today is the last day called hunger training. And tomorrow, day 11, we switch into meal something. Let me look at what that is. Tomorrow, day 11, we switch into learning about the eating window. Never during this challenge will we have long fasting times. The point of this challenge is to teach people to do the minimum effective dose of fasting, so that we're not fasting a lot, that hopefully people are eating 2 to 3 meals a day, but that they're having an eating window time. But that's tomorrow's focus. So let me stick to the last day today of the hunger training, day 10. I woke up this morning on day 10 with a waking glucose of 80. And I'm also going to use that as my pre-meal number, because I am trying to get in 2 meals a day, or at least the quantity of food within my shortened eating window that would be like 2 meals, so that I get enough protein and enough nutrition. I'll put up a screenshot of my dashboard of my DataDriven Fasting app, which anyone can use for free for 14 days to trial it out, not putting in a credit card number for it. And in that 14 days, you will get assigned your personalized hunger trigger, and it gives you a chance to learn this stuff. So you can learn a lot in 14 days, and you have the DataDriven Fasting manual that you can use for free. There's so many free resources, but some people want to be in the 30-day challenge class that costs $37, so that they're they're with a group of people doing this, that they meet each weekend for an hour on a Zoom call for question and answer session, and it just feels more personalized to them, and they're not on their own trying to figure this out. On my dashboard of my DataDriven fasting app for today, I see that the daily lesson that we can read is, "Are meal choices important too?" So I'm going to click on read more here. And it says, "What you eat is arguably more important than when you eat. Food choices also play a big role in how long your blood glucose takes to return to baseline. High-fat foods and meals will keep your blood glucose stable after meals. However, high-fat foods and meals tend to provide fewer nutrients and satiety per calorie, so you will likely consume more calories. Meals with more fast-digesting non-fiber carbohydrates will initially raise your blood glucose, but they may also return to below baseline sooner because they are hard to overeat and are burned off more quickly. Foods that contain both fats and carbs with low protein will fill your fat and glucose tanks and prompt you to eat more. Hence, they keep your blood glucose elevated for longer." And then the last point is, "Foods with a higher percentage of protein are harder to overeat and won't raise blood glucose significantly. In fact, they may reduce the blood glucose value. Your blood glucose will return to below target more quickly." And the last couple sentences, actually the last very long sentence says, "Data-driven fasting works best when paired with nutrient density. During hunger training, it's important that you reflect on which meals tend to keep your blood sugars elevated for longer and identify the meals that you enjoy that allow your blood sugars to return to below baseline more quickly." I'll put up an image that shows a representation of carbs and fats and proteins and the timeline of how long they last, how long they keep your blood glucose elevated. And what else would I add to that would be helpful in this piece of information? Well, as I'm reviewing the video, let me stop here a second. I will put a link to some articles about meals that are both carbs and fats versus meals that are low fat or low carb. Both meal styles, low fat and low carb, will work to help you manage your weight, but each has its drawbacks. And the beauty about TrimHealthyMama or any fuel separating style diet is that you can go back and forth. You don't have to be married to only eating low carb or only eating low fat. You can choose what you're feeling like having, and if you focus on not clashing together your fats and carbs in every meal, you will have more success at managing your weight and therefore managing your wellness. So I'm getting ready this morning to go meet some friends for a monthly standing date that we have, and what I'm going to do, since I know that there's going to be food there that I haven't prepared and probably is a combination of fat and carbs, I'm going to slow myself down a bit by using a drink that has lots of fiber in it that will fill me up because it's a quart-sized drink, and it will have plenty of protein in it. So even if my meal that I'm served out at my hostess's home isn't loaded with protein, I'm going to meet my protein needs by getting a head start on protein through this drink. This drink is created by Brianna. I can't remember. Well, I'll put a link to the recipe. She calls her drink the she used to call it the Frosty, but she calls it something else because that was I guess, close to a copyright infringement on a Dairy Queen Frosty drink. But that gives you an idea about where the drink's going. But the thing about the drink is it's got the secret ingredient in it. It has okra. And I am going to use more okra than the recipe calls for because I know how good okra is for my gut health. So I will put a link in the description box of a video from the TrimHealthyMama authors' sisters, Serene and Pearl, talking about the health benefits of okra. That will be included in this video description box as a resource link. The drink I'm going to make is Brianna Thomas's Chocolate Dreamy. And it's a fuel pull, which means that it's low in both carbohydrates and fats, and it's got protein in it. I'll link the recipe in the description box, and it's worth your while if you're interested in TrimHealthyMama compliant recipes that will focus on separating fuels. Brianna Thomas is a good resource for those kind of recipes without using a lot of what people would call special ingredients. Of course, I don't think of stevia or glucomannan or whey protein powder or collagen as special ingredients. Those are health supporting ingredients that I use in shakes all the time. I'll put links for those items in the description box as well. You may have never heard of the term glucomannan. That is a root that has been used in Asian food cooking for years. That it's used to make shirataki noodles. One of the things that it's frequently used in, shirataki noodles. And glucomannan acts as a prebiotic. It alkalizes the body. It helps regulate blood sugar. It's a good source of minerals. It removes fat from the colon wall. It absorbs intestinal toxins, and it lowers cholesterol. So I consider that a very useful tool in my diet, to use glucomannan as a thickener. Within Brianna's recipe here, I have a link to a Facebook group post about okra that I'll be using in this shake. Another thing that I consider, well, that's just natural food that I can easily buy in the Walmart grocery store vegetable section, frozen vegetable section. And okra has a lot of health benefits. I'll put those in the description box, and I'll link resources for you to read about the health benefits for okra. And I've already mentioned, I think, that I was going to put a short video clip from Serene and Pearl that they did about okra as a superfood. So I'll mix up this shake because I'm taking it with me to drink on the way, and basically I am starting my eating window with that shake. I will drink it as I drive, and then I'll have that quart of food in me. It's just blended up food basically. And then that'll slow me down in how much I consume at my hostess's home, because boy, can I consume a lot of food. I'm a volume eater. I like to eat a big meal. I like to feel full. But if I don't eat enough, if I don't use enough nourishment, then I know that I'm going to be looking for more food later in the day. If I don't eat enough protein, I'm going to be looking for more food later in the day. And I also know another thing. If I start in on the sweets, it's sort of like I have kicked off something in my brain, and it's Katie bar the door, all bets are off. I'm going to eat the sweets, and I'm a glutton. That is one of my besetting sins. If I start, I don't stop. I almost think of it as being a food alcoholic. I can control what I eat as long as what I eat is controlled. But if I start eating cheap sweets, sugar-laden sweets with flour and things like that, I'm just going to keep on going until I'm almost food drunk. So I'm trying to avoid that by making sure that I'm front loading with this healthy shake, because it's going to take up a lot of space. And then I know that my hostess is going to make some wonderful food, and hopefully I will be able to call it quits when that meal is over. And if not, I have a backstop of a small chocolate bar. Let me show you that. So this might not look like a small chocolate bar, but inside this package, I get these at Aldi. So this has 5 small chocolate bars in it. Let me pour one of the last ones out. I think there's one left here. No, there's another one there too. Okay, so this is a very dark chocolate, an 85% dark chocolate. This is another one of my tips and tricks that works for me. So I can be satisfied with this small amount of dark chocolate. It's intense flavor, and the bar has 12 grams of fat in it, and it has 9 grams of carbohydrate, 3 of which are fiber. So this will satisfy me, and hopefully I can avoid other kinds of desserts. Depends on what's there. If it's attractive enough, then I'm going to give in. But anyway, by having this shake first and then eating the lunch that the hostess serves, maybe even if she has the most beautiful desserts on offer, I'll be able to control myself, because I'd like not to blow out my glucose and send it sky high. And the other hope I have for today is, because I'm starting to eat at about 11 o'clock as I drive to my hostess's home, and even though we're gonna have a long leisurely lunch, I know we're gonna be done eating by 1 o'clock, and then that can be my eating window, and I can spend the rest of the day until tomorrow fasting. And that's a great time for the body to rest, digest, and clean up. We've come to the end of the day, and I thought it would be interesting for me to learn my glucose number right along with you. So I'm going to share my glucose number to see how close I am back to the 80s at least, after having had lunch out with friends and enjoyable meal that was a combination of fats and carbs, though there wasn't a bunch of sugar. I did have one little treat of a homemade sweet that my hostess had made, and I did not turn to my little chocolate bar, which was one of my backstops that I thought I might use. I didn't do that. And I didn't indulge in the M&Ms that she had available and the other wrapped chocolate candies. Sometimes I could have just made great use of all of that stuff, but this time I didn't. I think having that okra shake, the chocolate dreamy shake that I've shared with you earlier on the video, was a huge help to me. So, I don't know, I guess you can probably see my husband also has a Dario. After he saw the success with me and he saw me using my meter over and over again, he decided to get a subscription for himself. And so anyway, I'm going to use my Dario meter to test now. So I will take off the cap and get to the testing strips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yes, I use 5 testing strips because then I can look at the 5 numbers It used to be 3, but now I'm doing 5 for some reason. I don't know why I switched, but oh, and I pulled out the meter by using the latch. That pops up. This little Lego-like piece is the meter, and that's going here in the bottom of the case. And then my lancing device is under here. I'm going to allow it to open the app for me. And it's going to tell me to insert a new test strip. So let's do that. Insert the new test strip. It says place a drop of blood. I'm going to pull back on the cocking device for the lancing device. Cocking thing for the lancing device. And I'm going to do a little snap. Okay, and I'll raise a drop of blood, a bead of blood, and test that to the end of the test strip. And does my husband have, he doesn't have, oh, he has a tissue sitting here. I'll use that. 82. Nice. Let's see what the other numbers say, though. So I will, let's get a trash can there. Stick in another, well, I better pull up a bead of blood before it heals over. There it goes. So I won't have to stick myself again as long as I am not slow to pull up a new bead of blood each time. Do that now. There we go. That says 88. So that's a 6-point spread. And I do not like anything more than a 3-point difference between my numbers to make me feel like I've narrowed it on the right number. 80. Okay. First one was 82, and then 86, and 80. So the 82 and 80, I could stop there with a 2-point spread, but I'm curious. So we'll see what comes up, and I can keep pulling a drop of blood up because it hasn't healed over. That says 89. And all meters are allowed a 15 to 20% plus or minus variance. Last drop of blood. And then I'll look at all 5 numbers. Your own saliva has healing properties for you. 85. Okay. So now I'll save that number with a check mark. And I'll open the logbook, and let me take a screenshot of these 5 numbers so you'd be able to see them for yourself on screen. And there we go. So I'll put my Dario back together. The meter goes back in here. Click it down, put the lid on the cap back on. And there's my special weight loss and wellness tool. And I am very grateful for $200 a year. I have this little device to carry around with me. I can test as many times as I want. Did I say $200 a year? That's what it costs, $200 a year. And my husband, he got a subscription too. So he has his own device because I wasn't going to take advantage of the $200 unlimited test strip subscription. Oh, I want to show you something. I brought in, because the mail came today, I brought in the package that Dario sent me. So I don't have to let them know when I want new test strips because my device is tied in. It kicks off an alert to them and they know the rate that I'm going through test strips, so they keep me well supplied in test strips. So this is what I get. Usually I'll get a text, your order is on the way or your new supply is on the way. I don't remember what the text says, but I'm opening this package so you can see that they send me boxes of test strips. And in each of these boxes, I have little packets 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 little packets. There's a little cartridge inside each foil packet, and this little cartridge has 25 test strips in it. And you saw me, I pull out 5 at a time. So this little cartridge, if I pull out the cap, this is still loaded with them, but I'll show you. So I pull it out by the lid, if this were empty, and I just snap in a new cartridge, and I'm ready to go with 25 more test strips. But I'll pull that one out and save it for the next reload and put this one back in and cover this back up. This is a handy little device. Now, I do not send people that are just getting started with glucose testing out to spend $200, because what if you start and you go, this is not for me, and you just drop $200. Plus, when you decide to send for it, it's going to take a week or so before it comes to you. So what I tell people to do is go to Walmart and get a $20 kit. And I'll put up the 2 options in the screen so you can see those. I started with a Relion Premier that the test strips are 18 cents a piece. And so what I was doing was I was usually using 3 test strips every time. Because of that variance, I had read that every meter is allowed a variance of plus or minus 20% accuracy. So when I was testing, I would go through 3 test strips, 18 cents a test strip. So let's round up, 20, 40, 60. Every time I was testing, 60 cents. The other test kit that's at Walmart that is also available for $20. And my very first video number 1 of 31, covers this whole topic. So I shouldn't belabor it, but that is the Contour meter. Now it's a little sturdier and nicer, and I think it's more accurate than the Relion Premier is. But the thing is, the test strips for the Contour are double the cost of the test strips for the Relion Premier. So the Relion Premier, when you buy more test strips, yes, if you buy more test strips, you're spending 18 cents a piece on your test strips. Now, when you buy the kit, the $20 kit for Contour or for Relion, the $20 gets you the meter, a lancing device, a little case, carry case, and a few needles, which I do not change needles every time. As a matter of fact, I don't remember when I last changed the needle on this. And if you talk to diabetics, they do not change their needles every single time. Now, that's against American medical advice or whatever, but I don't change needles. Anyway, back to the test strips. Each of them has the things you need in it. The meter, the test strips, the lancing device, some needles, and a little carry case. The Contour only comes with 20 test strips. The Relion comes with 50 test strips. So with Contour, even if you use 1 test strip a time, you're only going to get to test 20 times for your $20. You're going to have to buy new test strips, and they come in a box of 70. It's $26.56 or whatever. That works out to almost 38 cents a piece for your test strips. The Relion kit for $20, you're going to get 50 test strips. So you can test, if you're just using 1 test strip per test, you can test 50 times. When you have to get more test strips, a box of 100 test strips is going to cost you $18. That's 18 cents a test strip. So 18 cents a test strip for Relion, 38 cents a test strip for Contour. Yes, the Contour is a little nicer, sturdier machine. Probably the accuracy is a little higher on it. I think I read a report that it came out a little higher on a comparison of meters. But 18 cents a test strip, 38 cents a test strip. I can use 2 of the Rely-Ons and take 2 tests. I can only use 1 of the Contour. Anyway, all that said, when I totaled up the Rely-On usage for me, the real money saver is the Dario, because at the amount of testing I do, I once figured out that it saves me a lot more money to spend $200 a year for the Dario. I have unlimited test strips, and they send me test strips without me even having to reach out to them to get new test strips. And if I want new Rely-On test strips or new Contour test strips, I have to remember to go to Walmart and get them. So my Dario sent me a package of 300 test strips. There's 100 in this box, 100 in this box, and 100 in this box. Each little packet has 25. So 4 25s is 100. Easy math there. So that covers the Rely-On. And let me go back to my actual blood test of my glucose value right here and now. I went and put my supplies away. I'm thrilled with my glucose value right now. I'm saying it's an 82. I looked at the range of numbers, and I have the high and I have the low, but I'm also wearing a continuous glucose monitor on the back of my arm here. I was given a gift subscription to it by one of our adult children who knows that I have a fascination with all this stuff, and I thought it would be really fun to wear a continuous glucose monitor and compare that to manual testing. And so I have a Freestyle Libra on the back of my arm here that I can take my number anytime I want, and it lets me know the highs. So I'm not that I tested my highs or my post meal numbers very often anyway, but now I have 3 months to watch what happens to my highs. And so my NutriSense reading, or my NutriSense app, which is the Freestyle Libra, said that my glucose, when I was testing manually, I used this too behind the scenes, and it's 84. So that's why I'm going with the 82 of all those numbers that you can see on my Dario. That's a really good glucose, because I'm going to go to bed with an 84, and I'm going to wake up at least with something like an 84 or below, because I haven't eaten since we ladies finished our lunch this afternoon, and I haven't had any hunger pangs, and I'm going to go to bed soon as I finish up this video and get it loaded for today. Oh, I'll put up the picture of the meal that I had, so, and the shake that was sitting on the console of the car as I was driving to lunch. So I had that quart of healthy shake, and you can see the ingredients in it, and the recipe link is in the description box. It was loaded with okra. It had at least a cup and a half of okra in it, and it had protein through cottage cheese. But anyway, the recipe's in there. You can see the meal that our hostess made for us, and now I've shared the Dario with you, which, I don't know, I guess I wanted to throw that in too, so you could see my post-meal glucose and testing with the Dario, and the resupply of the strips had come today, so I thought it would be interesting for somebody to see that the strips are just coming to me on a regular basis, and it makes my life simpler. I think that shares everything that I wanted to cover today. And I'm sure that I've got some gaps, but anyway, tomorrow will be a new day, and I can share new stuff tomorrow. We're starting into a new section, the eating window topic, and I'll share on that. So that's enough. I think this is one of the longest videos in this 31 videos. Maybe the first one was longest, I don't know. Anyway, here it is, the end of the day, and I'm very happy with my glucose end of the day number. I like to go to bed with my glucose being at least under 100. So after 4.5 years, I've learned that that's kind of important. So thank you for joining me for today's video.